Good morning. Welcome to the Charter Facilities Grant Cohort 2023 ePlan tutorial. My name is Adam Holdren. I'm the Director of Choice Grants with the TDOE Division of Choice. As with all the work we do within the TDOE, we are focused on the best for all mission. We will set all students on the path to success. The work we're doing today with the facilities grant is mostly aligned with our student readiness goal, as we're ensuring that students in Tennessee public charter schools have the best learning environments possible. So our agenda for today, we're going to give a general overview of the Facilities Cohort 2023 grant. We're going to talk about how ePlan falls in and is used within that grant period. We're going to talk about the funding application process specifically, and then we're going to do a step-by-step walkthrough of how to fill out your funding application for this first round. So to get us started, we're going to start by going over some of the high-level details of the Charter School Facilities Fund grant. A lot of this information is probably going to be a repeat, but I want to make sure that we're all starting with the same basis of information. A grant overview. In 2017, the Tennessee legislature established a public charter school facilities program pursuant to which state funds are allocated annually to charter schools to assist them with acquiring and improving their facilities. This year, $38 million was allocated for Grant Cohort 2023. $12 million of that was put towards per pupil allocations based off of schools' October 1st enrollment. Another $26 million of that was given out in competitive allocations through a application process that folks have completed. As of now, each school's funds have already been uploaded into their ePlan accounts, and an email should have been sent out that walks schools through how to access their allocation, but we're going to go through it again today as in our presentation. Allowable expenses. So funds for this grant may be reimbursements for the purpose of purchasing real property upon which to build school facilities, permanent school facilities, or relocatable school facilities, so portables. They may be used for any costs associated with the purchase of underutilized or vacant property available pursuant to TCA 4913-136. They may be used for lease or mortgage payments. They may be used for the service of debt incurred for existing capital outlay projects. And they may be used for the reimbursement of renovations and future capital outlay projects. You'll notice I highlighted number 3, lease or mortgage payments. I highlighted that because for most of our schools, you do have a lease or mortgage payment that you're paying out on monthly. That ends up being one of the easiest ways to reimburse this particular grant. It's an easy monthly expense with your per pupil funds. Usually 1, 2, 3 months of your per pupil funds might cover 1, 2, 3 months of your lease or mortgage payments can be covered by those per pupil funds. Easy process, gets you with it pretty quickly and allows you to move on. Our goal is to get these spent down as quickly as possible, and we want to make sure we're using it for things that are going to support our schools and our school facilities. So the grant period. The official grant funding window is going to appear on your grant award notification letter, which is going to be posted in ePlan in the next 3 to 4 weeks. For the 2 different allocations, your per pupil allocations, those should be expended during this fiscal year. So any period between January 3rd and June 30th, 2023. Your competitive allocation should be expended within the next 3 years. So you have from January 3rd to June 30th, 2026. Another side note I want to throw in there while we're having this conversation, a lot of schools still have Cohort 2022 funds available. You will want to spend down your Cohort 2022 funds before your Cohort 2023 funds, because those will also expire June 30th, 2023, but there's no opportunity for potential carryover with those funds. So again, you want to spend down your Cohort 2022 funds prior to spending down your Cohort 2023 per pupil funds. All right, ePlan overview. So for folks that might be new to this process, ePlan is the grant management system that we use that follows our grants through the life cycle and manages a lot of our financial components of it. While we're focused specifically on the Charter Facilities grant today, this is a pretty consistent tool that we use through most grants within the TDOE. So this slide goes over the ePlan grant lifecycle. It talks about the different spaces and times that you will need to interact with ePlan in order to manage your loan and get your reimbursements. The first process that we're talking about today, and we're going to be going through the step-by-step walkthrough, is your funding application. The funding application is where schools are required to complete an application that states how they're budgeting and allocating the funds that they're receiving for the grant. Once you've submitted this application, it needs to be approved by the TDOE team. And then at that point, you will be authorized to go ahead and start accepting reimbursements. Your funding application should be completed by February 15th, 2023. You need support throughout that process. We will go over how you can contact me or some office hours that we may have available. Once you've completed and had approved your funding application, then you will be able to submit reimbursement requests. Reimbursement requests, we're going to have a webinar or a video that's going to go over how we complete these in the next few weeks. But you're able to claim reimbursements for allowable costs that occurred within the grant period, which we just discussed. You should have all of your fiscal year 23 reimbursement requests submitted by July 15th, 2023. Again, we will go over the reimbursement process in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but that will be the next step after we've completed and had approved our funding application. The final stage of the ePlan grant lifecycle is the final expenditure report. We close out every fiscal year with a final expenditure report for every grant that we are interacting with. In the final expenditure report, we are accounting for grant spending, and we're closing out our participation for that fiscal year with that particular grant. A reminder, FERs were completed by every school that participates in this grant for that fiscal year. Even if all of your funds have been expended, you still must complete a final expenditure report. If you have additional funds that are not spent at the end of the fiscal year, and if there's room for you to, within the grant period, for you to continue spending funds, within your FER, you will complete a section for carryover, and you'll carry over those funds into the next fiscal year. If that is the case, this ePlan grant lifecycle starts right back from the beginning. And once your FER has been approved, you will submit another funding application for the next fiscal year, and you'll go through the same process with then to reimbursement requests and close out that next fiscal year of the FER. This is a cycle that continues year after year while funds are still available and you're within the grant period. In order to interact with ePlan, you need to have users that are have specific access roles within the platform. There are 3 different user roles that you need to interact with this particular grant. The first one is the LEA Charter School Facilities Grant Cohort 2023 Director. The second is the LEA Fiscal Representative. And the final is the LEA Authorized Representative. Most schools, I think all of our schools, have someone that at least meets the bottom 2 components, the fiscal and the authorized. You'll want to check if you have someone who's in the Grant Cohort 2023 Director role. And you can do that by when logged into ePlan. On the left side in the blue column, it says address book, and it will tell you the roles of everyone in your team and what they're assigned to. If you need to add users or change access, you're going to fill out the Charter Schools User Access Form, which is available on the ePlan homepage in the right column. This is what the User Access Form looks like. I've put boxes around the 3 different roles that we need to have assigned for this particular grant. It also gives you additional information on this form about who should fill those roles and what's the right position for those additional people. Once completed, your user access form should be emailed to eplan.help@tn.gov. The team is pretty quick. They complete most requests within the 24 hours. We give them 1 to 2 days to get a new user added. All right, so now we go to the walkthrough process. The walkthrough process is going to be step by step, and we'll cover just about every screen that you're going to face throughout the application process. This is a recording, so there's no need for us to watch it all the way through and try to keep up. Pause it. Make sure to set up with the alignment that you're working with and make it go at your pace. So let's move on. All right, so first thing we need to do is we need to log into ePlan. That's eplan.tn.gov. Again, you need to make sure you have users and the right roles in order to do this, but that's going to be our first step to fill out our funding application. Once we get into ePlan, we're going to, if it's not already done, click on our school at the top section. Once we've done that, on the left window, we're going to go to funding, and we're going to go to funding applications. Once we've clicked on funding applications, it's going to bring us to this screen right here. This screen allows us to access all of the different funding applications or grants that we've interacted with in the past with this particular school. In order to get to the 2023 Charter School Facilities Grant, we need to make sure that we've changed the year at the top to 2023. Now that year refers to the fiscal year. It doesn't refer to the grant year. And I name that because when you see below there, there's also going to be for several schools, the Cohort 2022 funds in fiscal year 23. That means that this school in particular and a lot of other schools have additional funds that they either have to spend in fiscal year 23 or already have. But that's why you'll see both of them listed. The grant year may be 2023, but that section at the top names the fiscal year that we're referring to. So on this page, we want to make sure that that top section is it says 2023, and we are going to click on Charter School Facilities Grant Cohort 2023. That's the funding application we're completing today. Once you've gotten into the funding application, in order to start the process and actually get your application started, you are going to click on Draft Started. So you'll see in that section it says Change Status To, and then you're going to click on the word Draft Started. I'll note, if you're looking closely at our slides, this one says Draft Completed. I jumped the gun and wasn't able to get the picture right. But again, yours will say Draft Started. You will click on Draft Started. It will give you another screen for you to confirm, and then you'll be good to go and get started. All right, now you're in your sections page, which ends up being the hub for your funding application. This is where you're going to be able to maneuver through the different sections and gather information that's going to allow you to move on and submit your final application. In this webinar, we're going to go over the specific sections that you are going to be accountable to and the information you have access to. So we're not going to go over all sections, just the ones that you're going to be working through the funding application. Now that you've clicked it, Draft Started, you're in the live application, so you'll be able to make changes in the different sections that are applicable to your work. We're going to start on the allocations page. This is going to let us know how much funds we are allocated in both our PPA and competitive funds. Most folks already did this if they followed the guidelines that were in the email sent a while back, but this is just a good place to start when you start your funding application. You'll notice here that you've got both per pupil and competitive allocations in separate columns. If you do not have both columns, that means you weren't awarded both types of funds. The application is only going to be set up for the funds that you have available to you in your school. Again, your per pupil funds are based on your October 1st enrollment. So every school received a certain dollar amount per student that made a determination for their per pupil funds. Once you've reviewed your allocations and you know what you're working with and are going to be budgeting throughout the application, you'll go to the section over here that says Go To, and then you'll go to Sections. Sections will bring you back to our home base, the page that has access to all of the other pages. So again, you're going to hover over Go To, and then you're going to go to Sections and click on that. From the Sections page, the next place we want to go is we want to go to our Cover page. Over here, you'll click on Cover Page. And this brings you to the cover page of the general information for your school as it pertains to this grant. You'll want to fill out all of these fields. Most of these fields will be pretty quick and self-explanatory. One field that I want to name specifically that some schools do get bogged down with is a UEI number, or your Unique Entity Identifier. This is a number that is identified from the federal government that allows you to accept funds. Your school should already have a UEI number. So if you do not know it, reach out to maybe your finance team or your CFO, and they may help you figure this out. If not, your school will be eligible to apply for one by going to sam.gov, and you'll be able to get a UEI number from there. So once your cover page is completely filled out, every section, then you'll go ahead and save it. And then once you've saved it, you want to save and go to sections, which brings us back to our home base. Excuse me. All right, now we're going to complete our funding application budget. Now I'll show you, I'll name, for those of you that have a per pupil and a competitive allocation, both of them, you'll be completing two separate budgets. Each budget is going to be assigned to those particular set of funds. For each of the budgets, you're going to click on the word budget below the either per pupil or competitive heading. And once you do that, it will bring you to a group of different account numbers that this grant is able to fund. The budget line items that you can that you're going to be setting up, so it's going to be account number and then budget line items, are listed on the application that you may or may not have. They're also listed here, and we'll go over that really quickly in a second. But you're going to choose which of the account numbers you want to start adding your budget line items or the different things you're going to be spending your funds on. And once you've decided which one you're going to do, you're going to click on modify. When you click on modify, it's going to bring you to this screen right here. And you're going to enter budget details or different items that match that account number that are what you are budgeting your funds on. So you've got the budget account, you want to modify. Now you're going to click on add budget detail. From here, it's going to bring up this screen right here. This is going to be where you submit each of the different budget items that you are going to be allocating your funds to. This left section has different columns that you need to fill out. Account number should already be chosen because you did do that with your account number previously. Your line item is something you need to select which line item best supports the budget item that you are choosing. And again, that should align with one of these budget accounts and line items that are shown here. So this one, in this particular example, we're using operation lease payments, which is one of the things I'm encouraging most schools to do because it's an easy place to allocate and spend most of our funds. But again, you'll pick the one that most directly aligns with the things that you'll be spending your funds on. You do not put anything in optional program code. Location code is already filled out. For the quantity, cost, and budget detail totals, there's a few different ways to do this. If you are using your funds for your rent or your mortgage payments, then you can go ahead and let's say your mortgage payment is $10,000 a month and you want to do it for 3 months. You could put a quantity of 3, a cost of 10,000, and what it'll do is it'll automatically generate a total of 30,000 in your budget line item, and it will calculate that for you. The struggle schools sometimes come up with is they want to spend this on their lease payments, and they have $10,000 worth of rent a month, but they only have $27,000 in their allocation. This will not allow you to budget more than the money that you have in your allocation. And so another option you can do to submit those 3 months of your lease payments into this budget line item is you can put down a quantity of 1, a total cost of $27,000 because that's how much you have to allocate. And then just make sure in your narrative description you name January rent, February rent, and $7,000 of my March rent. And it will specify those 3 different sections. And we know that's why you didn't do 3 with a cost of $10,000. Also in your narrative description, that's the section over here on the right, you need to provide a support for the purpose of these funds. So if we were to do our lease or mortgage payments, we would just generally say we will be using this for our facility lease or mortgage payments. If you are doing it for your HVAC repairs, you will name that we're repairing HVAC in 3 of our classrooms and the cost that's affiliated with that. You just want to make sure that this narrative description gives a general idea of the specific items that you're spending your funds on and how they align with the allowability that we've discussed before. Once you've finished filling out this budget line item, you'll notice on the bottom section, at the very bottom corner, it tells you how much funds you have remaining. So if you're spending some of your money on HVAC repair and you still have another $30,000 that you're spending on something else, it will show that $30,000 in that bottom section. You will need to continue entering budget line items until that remaining number is 0. Say that again, continue adding budget items until your remaining allocation is $0. Once you've got your allocation down to $0, you've completed that section of your budget. As I named before, for those of you that also have a competitive allocation, you're going to follow the same process with two main differences. The first difference is that all of your budget line items should be an exact match to your submitted application budget. If you said you were spending $100,000 on HVAC repair, then that's exactly what it needs to say in your budget in ePlan. In addition, for your competitive allocation, for your competitive budget, there's a section below that says related documents. In this section, you're going to upload the application packet you applied for. Same when you forward it off to the charter school's email address, you're going to go ahead and upload it here into related documents. Now that we've completed our budget, we've completed our cover page, we've got a very last stage that we're going to be working with, and that's our allocations. Our assurances document. You'll access this from the sections page, going to related documents general. From there, it will bring up a piece of information, and in the middle of that particular chart, it has a download of the Charter School Facilities Cohort 2023 assurances. This is a document that needs to be filled out and signed, and then uploaded into this platform for you to commit to the assurances for this particular grant. When you get the form, you'll notice it is about, I think, 14 pages. On the front page, you'll fill out a cover page. Make sure you fill out all the fields on that page. Then page 2 through 13 are the assurances, and you'll want to make sure you read those. And then on page 14, you're going to make sure you sign it and fill out all those signature sections. Once you've completed this process, you're going to go ahead and go to the document link section on the right side over here and upload that file as a PDF. All right, now that we've completed those three main sections, we want to just double check them before we submit our application. Is the cover page completely filled out with all the different sections? Is the budget complete with only allowable expenses that use up the entire allocation with $0 remaining? Has your assurances document been filled out, signed, and uploaded? Once you're confident all three of those things have been done, it's time to submit your application. In order to submit your application, you're going to click on this top section and change your status to draft completed. Once you've done that, it's going to kick back and say if there are any errors in your application. If there are errors, it'll give you a link to go to the page to fix whatever errors you may have. If you follow the steps we've gone over, you probably shouldn't have any errors. But if you do and you need guidance, you can go ahead and reach out to me and I can support you through the process. If you don't have any errors, you can go ahead and click confirm to submit your draft completed stage. Now you're not completed yet. There's a few more stages to get your application formally submitted to the TDOE. Next, the funding application is going to go to your LEA fiscal representative. We talked about user roles before. This is one of your user roles. The LEA fiscal representative must be signed into ePlan to approve your application. So once they've signed in, they will click on LEA fiscal representative approved. And then they'll click on the next page, it will have a confirmation. So they'll click the confirm button to confirm that they want to approve this application. But wait, we're not done. There's one more step. Once your fiscal representative has approved it, now your LEA authorized representative needs to approve it. Again, this is a different person who will need to sign into the ePlan platform in order to complete this approval. They'll click on LEA authorized representative approved. They will have to check off that they are submitting the application. They know this is the final stage of that process, and then they will confirm the application. You're done. You've completed your funding application for the Charter School Facilities Grant Cohort 2023 funds. Once you've completed and submitted your application, it's going to be kicked to the TDOE charter team, and I'm going to review it, or someone on our team is going to review it to ensure that the cover page is filled out completely as discussed. The budget meets the following requirements. I have an entire allocation spent. I have all of the budget line items with allowable expenses, and I have budget narratives that explain how the item will address school facility needs. And then lastly, the related documents section includes an upload of a completed and signed assurances page. Once you've submitted your funding application, it can take up to 1 week to be reviewed and approved. Once your funding application has been approved, you'll be able to submit your reimbursement requests through the ePlan platform. This is not a very difficult process, but we will be having some tools or resources sent to you and potentially a webinar as well that will give you some instructions for filling out a reimbursement request to claim your funds. If throughout this process you find that you need additional support or you want to reach out to me otherwise, you can access our Charter ePlan office hours, and those are on Thursdays from 1 to 2 o'clock. And you can log in through the Microsoft Teams meeting link here, or it should also be in an email that I would have sent to y'all. In addition, you can set up a one-on-one meeting or call with me just by emailing me to schedule some time, and we'll go ahead and make that happen. I know several schools that I've walked through the process step by step with, and it's been really successful, and we've been able to make some stuff happen. Lastly, if you just have a one-off question or you think it's going to be a quick one, give me a call, shoot me an email, and again, I'll be happy to support. All right, that's all I have for our presentation today. As I mentioned before, if you have questions, please reach out to me, but let's go ahead and get those funding applications completed by February 15th. All right, thank you.